vacation part of Township Road 190 that goes through HPY, which is Harold something Young Industrial Park property.
I can talk about it, Madam President. This is, you go down 412 and you go right over the bypass. There's a small country road that went back to an old farmhouse. That was Township Road 190. That whole area got annexed into the city, and so that Township Road came into the city, so that public right-of-way became a city public right-of-way. But if you remember, it was always our plan to vacate that road because the road went back to a farmhouse, we got rid of the farmhouse, and we only kept the road as kind of on the curved part, and we removed it as part of, having more developable space. So we kind of talked about this, but this is the formal act. It went to the Planning Commission. Planning Commission voted to vacate this. I'm hoping we can add this to the agenda and even vote on it tonight for two reasons. One, we have submitted the final plat of the entire industrial park to the tax map office with the county, and we're waiting for that to come back. But it can't come back if on paper there's still a road. And I say on paper, the back right out there, the road's already been removed. So it's just, it's a little bit of a paper formality. So that's all I have, Madam President, with regards to the public hearing and Township Road 190. That's all I have, Madam President, with regards to the public hearing and
Any comments from the public or council people? Any comments from the public or members?
Why didn't we vacate right away?
There was a legal process of waiting, like we said, we had to go into the planning commission and had to wait 90 days.
Good stuff.
There's nothing more to comment on this. We'll just adjourn this, and at 7 o'clock we'll have our city council meeting start tonight. Rise for a moment of silent prayer. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the Fremont City Council on the 6th day of June 2024. As a courtesy, please place all your cell phones on off position or vibrate. Roll call, please.
Frazier?
Here.
Reese?
Here.
Hottie?
Here.
Elder? Here. Leibold?
Here.
Reese?
Here.
Sleek?
Madam President Pro Tem, I motion to excuse Jamie Hatford and Jim Sleek from tonight's meeting. Second.
Roll call, please.
Reese?
Yes.
Hottie?
Yes.
Elder? Yes. Leibold?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
There's been a motion by Frazier.
Yes.
I said Frazier, and seconded by Chris Leibel, and that has passed. Thank you. The minutes, council has a copy of the journal of the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to that? The minutes will stand approved as written and received. There are 7 items on the agenda. Would anybody like to add to the agenda?
Yes, I have, like to make a motion to add an ordinance. The ordinance states, an ordinance to vacate in-lots 3621 to 3629, 3632 to 3642, 3958 to 3973, 3975 to 3976, 3978 to 3981, 3984 to 3987, 3991 to 3992, part of in-lot 3988, part of outlot 7, part of vacate Swart Street, vacate Burger Street, and adjacent vacant alley in the city of Fremont, Ohio.
Second.
It has been motioned to add an ordinance by Mrs. Weiss and seconded by Mr. Elder. Roll call, call, please.
Addie?
Yes.
Elder? Yes. Leibold?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Are there any other corrections or additions, subtractions to this?
I have questions where these are at. It's not part of the, what Erica was doing.
We'll discuss that when we get to that. Yes, Mr. Williams is good enough to give us a credit there. He has been here on time to see.
Yes.
I couldn't resist.
I know.
You got a couple
You are.
layers in there. She still got it.
Yes, he does.
I love it.
All right. The agenda is set. Mr. Elder, would you please read the first item?
Third reading of a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign and enter into an agreement with Fremont Developmental Corporation to promote economic development within the city and declaring an emergency. I'll move to adopt.
Second.
It has been moved to adopt by Mr. Elder and seconded by Mr. Lively. Roll call, please.
Elder? Yes. Leibold?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Addie?
Yes.
That motion has been passed. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, second read, the item is
Second reading of a resolution authorizing the approval and issuance of a warrant for payment of $3,900 to Avenue Home Builders and declaring an emergency.
Madam President Pro Tem. Item number 2 and item number 6 are related. They're both warrant for payments. They're both related to the CDBG, or Community Housing Grant. I think there's been a little bit of some hiccups in the community housing program. This is a program that we can participate jointly with Sandusky County, and it's administered with GLECAP. And I think maybe some new personnel got involved, and so the process either has changed or maybe they're not familiar with it. So it seems that the third floor doesn't get the same paperwork as timely as they did. Normally they give it's actually, I think they actually call it an appropriation, that lists that this project has been approved. It's got this invoice associated with it for like a home remodel in the community housing program. And when they issue that appropriation letter, it's got the amount and the work hasn't happened yet. So then that prompts Amanda in the third floor to put a purchase order in out of the money that's in our budget for the community housing program. And for some reason, the last couple, we haven't gotten those timely. And we've gotten it with an invoice, and the work's already completed, but the purchase order hasn't been done yet. So it's not something that's necessarily in our control. I believe the mayor and Amanda have had some conversations with the county and GLECAP. And I know the county, I know the individual pretty well that's in charge of it at the county level, and she is beyond frustrated with it as well. So I think there's been some communication that's happened with some folks at GLECAP. So hopefully this gets remedied and fixed going forward. But for both of these, they're both the Abdu builders. I can't remember if they're both associated with the same home renovation project. I think it is. It's just two separate invoices for work that's been done. So I would ask that we suspend Rule 4 so that we can get both of them passed and paid. And hopefully going forward, like I said, hopefully that communication and that flow of information gets corrected a little bit, and then we get a purchase order in and bring it before council.
I make a motion to suspend Rule 4.
Second.
It has been motioned by Mrs. Weiss and seconded by Mr. Leiball for a motion to suspend Rule 4.
Leibold?
Yes.
Reese? Frazier?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Addie?
Yes.
Elder? Yes. Move to adopt.
Second?
It has been moved to adopt by Mr. Elder and seconded by Mrs. Weiss. Roll call, please.
Reese?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Addie?
Yes.
Elder? Yes. Leibold?
Yes.
Okay, that has been passed. And we'll go on to the reading for item 3.
Second reading of an ordinance to authorize the expenditure and direct the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract with M&B Asphalt Company, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $280,140 for the Fremont Community Center parking lot improvements and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, we talked about this a little bit at the first reading. We had 9 bidders, bids ranging anywhere from 280 to 370. I think the engineer's estimate was 325, 330 in range, so it came in under our engineer's estimate. And so, because this is the lowest bid and this is the time of season we pay things, we're asking you to suspend Rule 4 so we can move forward with getting M&D under contract and then getting the parking lot at the rec center done. This is ideally late July, early August is kind of a slow period at the rec center, and so we want to, but late August things start to pick up with fall sports, and so we try to get this done before while attendance is low and we can be as least disruptive as possible.
Make a motion to suspend Rule 4.
Second.
It has been moved to suspend Rule 4 by Mrs. Weiss and seconded by Mr. Frazier. Roll call, please.
Frazier?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Addie?
Yes.
Elder? Yes. Leibold?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Move to adopt?
Second.
It has been moved to adopt by Mrs. Weiss and seconded by Mr. Elder. Roll call, please.
Frazier?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Addie?
Yes.
Elder? Yes. Leibold?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes. That has passed. Would you read item 4?
First reading of an ordinance to authorize the expenditure and direct the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract with Master Renovations in an amount not to exceed $223,248 for Fire Department Number 2 roof and declaring an emergency.
You call, but you want to talk on it? I'll let you talk on it. I got a lot to say. I get long-winded. I'll let you.
Mr. Allwise, would you like to speak on this?
Sure, I can briefly. So we've had some issues with fire station number 2 roof for quite a number of years. We've gone through numerous processes of trying to remedy the situations and with lower cost options, doing some caulking, and a number of different things. There was some insulation that was done inside the roof 10 years ago or so. To no avail, though. We've always had issues with that roof for probably a good 10 years. It just seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. So we had some discussions about it a year ago to see what we could do about getting this done. And thankfully, there was some grant money available that we were able to tie into to assist with this. So the bid went out, and we ended up getting Master Renovations with low bidder. I've looked into them since I found out that they won the bid. They seem like a really put together company. So really excited about this. Hopefully we stay dry in there for once they're done.
Where's the company at?
They're out of Orville, Ohio, Master Renovations.
And the grant that Chief Hallbeiser was talking about is the biannual CDBG program. It was about the time that we were talking about the roof issues and that sort of thing. And I think it was right around budget time, and we were getting ready to start looking at different projects to earmark for the next round of CDBG funding. And so the administration, mayor's office, myself, Safety Service Director, decided that that would be the most worthwhile project. It was something that we had to do. It was eligible to be used for the CDBG program. So it offsets $129,500 is the allocation, the portion of CDBG that was able to get allocated towards the roof. So that leaves, just shy of $100,000. That's going to come out of our capital improvement project. This was presented in the budget to council earlier in the year, both the CDBG side and the local portion. So it's already in the budget. So there's no budget adjustment that's needed or anything like that. So just to talk about the grant side of it.
Is that gonna be the whole roof?
It's-
Are they gonna replace?
They're going to replace the portion of the roof that is not above the truck bed. So if you see the big square section that has the garage doors, that portion will stay because we haven't had any leaks in that portion of the roof. But anything to the west of that, living quarters, offices, things of that nature, that portion of the roof will be completely replaced.
Make a motion to suspend Rule 4.
Second.
It has been motioned by Mr. Elder and seconded by Mr. Leibel. Suspend Rule 4. Roll call, please.
Reese.
Yes.
Addie.
Yes.
Elder.
Yes.
Leibel.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Frazier.
Yes.
Move to adopt?
Second.
It has been moved to adopt by Mrs. Weiss and seconded by Mr. Leibel. Roll call, please.
Addie.
Yes.
Elder.
Yes.
Leibel.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Frazier.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
Mr. Elder, please read item 5.
First reading of an ordinance authorizing declarations of official intent under U.S. Treasury regulations with respect to reimbursements from proceeds of bonds, notes, or other obligations of temporary advances made for payments prior to issuance and related matters and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I'll talk about this one as well. So this goes to our chemical feed building project. I tried to explain it a little bit in a letter to council earlier in the week, even yesterday. So the chemical feed building used to be a physical part of the Ballville Dam. It was on the northern abutment of the river. It was physically a part of the dam, and where the water was drawn in from the dam intake, chemicals were fed so that they could start a pre-treatment process from the dam down to the water treatment plant. Going back further than that, with the reservoir project, there was financing that the city obtained to construct the reservoir through the Ohio Water Development Authority, OWDA. OWDA and the Ohio EPA kind of go hand in hand a little bit, and there is a program called the WRSIP program. I can't remember what the acronym stands for, I put it in your letter. But the WRSIP funding is basically a program that boomerangs that interest back to the city for an associated project that's eligible under this WRSIP program. So the financing of the reservoir and that interest was boomeranging back to the city for the removal of the Ballville Dam. And all that 10 years ago. We've drawn most of what we had available for the WRSIP program for the actual removal of the dam and the wetlands mitigation and all that good stuff along the river. The chemical feed building, in part due to COVID, in part due to the engineering firm that we were working with, has taken a while to get designed and under construction. But it has always been the intent for a decade for this project to be used, to use some of that WRSIP money. And now it was going to be the balance of available WRSIP money, which was about $890,000. As we're kind of getting some things going with the chemical feed building, and we talk about the project with EPA, and we're getting ready to submit some things to them, we find out that they don't consider the chemical feed building an eligible project under WRSIP. We were extremely disappointed, and we had a lot of banter back and forth with them. We sent it pretty far up the chain to about the second or third individual in charge of the WRSIT program and with EPA. They reviewed everything associated with the project. The gentleman that kind of was the lead person that we ran it up the flagpole with, he actually had been to the Ballville Dam all the way back when in its infancy, and the reservoir. He was pretty involved with that, so he knew what we were talking about. But unfortunately, as we explained it, the city engineer, myself, the third floor, the administration provided them documentation on what the project was, why we were doing it, why it's a requirement of the EPA. But essentially, the WRSIT program is more about like river restoration and waterway restoration, and they did not feel that the reconstruction of the chemical feed building met that criteria. We argued that the removal of the Ballville Dam met that criteria, and by removing the Ballville Dam, we lost our chemical feed building, so it's directly associated with it. But to no avail, we got shot down again. And so I got super frustrated with them, and I said, well, we're already under contract with Moser Construction to build this thing, and I certified the availability of funds on the purchase order with this WRSIT dollars as the financing, a significant portion of the financing. They understood the heartache, they didn't really care. So the district office in, I believe, Bowling Green or Rossford of the Ohio EPA has been much more amicable to work with for the city. And there's not grant funding available, but they are looking into some 0% interest loans that we might be able to look to help finance this. And so that process has begun. There is a nomination process for your project that has to be done first, and then if it gets approved through the nomination process, then you start the formal application process. So Tucker has started the nomination process, and that ball is rolling, but there's no real guarantee that we're going to get that financing. So I had a couple conference calls with our bond counsel, Squires, out of Cleveland, and our municipal advisors, which is Encina and Associates. And the game plan that we came up with is kind of having two balls rolling at the same time. So we've got the ball rolling with the EPA on the program with the 0% interest financing, but then we also wanted to get something in place for the city to do a public financing if that were to fall through. Because the project is literally underway, I did not want to wait until we heard back from the EPA, because then the project might be far enough along that our bond counsel might be like, well, now you can't really go out for financing anymore. Like, the project is substantially complete, and so this is the first required step to just declare our intent to get reimbursed through a future financing. But they said, if we have this in place, we'll have enough time to find out what the EPA says before I have to actually pay for their actual services to draft up whatever type of public financing we might do. But this needed to be done and in place, and then this is authorizing me to actually sign the declaration of intent and get that filed with bond counsel, so that it's just in place, and that way we've kind of got that safety net that if the EPA falls through again, that we've got that in place. Most likely it will be an internal borrowing like we did to roll over the Garrison note. That also gives us an opportunity to have an expedited timeline, because it's all internal. We don't need to advertise it and publicly bid it and allow for a few weeks to pass to accept those public bids. We can just kind of basically place that financing with ourselves and get that ball rolling and get that financing in place to cover the expenses for the chemical feed building. So definitely a bit disappointed in how that shook out. That was not our understanding throughout much of the last several years, literally, getting to this point. But it is what it is, and we are where we're at, and so this is kind of the next best option with kind of a safety net underneath it just in case it falls through. So I would ask that we suspend Rule 4 on this one, just so, again, for timeliness, that it's just approved, I can get the document signed and filed with bond counsel sooner rather than later. It doesn't mean that we have to move forward with any financing. It just is declaring our intent to, if the need were to arise.
Mr. Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
how much is this building going to cost?
It's just under, it's like 1.3, almost $1.4 million.
Yeah, the letter said 890, is that still okay?
That was the portion of WRSIP dollars that we were intending to use for it. So last year, we transferred $500,000 from the water operating fund into our improvement fund. And then we were counting on the WRSIP money, about $900,000. So we had about 1.4 in that fund. What also was frustrating, and we explained this to the EPA, because we had those WRSIP dollars set aside and then we transferred locally the balance left, the rate study that we did over the last 6 months, we did not include this as a capital project to be factored into the rates. So this $1 million was not included in the percentage that we decided to increase water rates, because we had it covered. We had that project set aside, and we were starting with a fresh slate with operations, within the water treatment plant and that sort of thing. So that was also frustrating, because we had just gone through this, and if we would have known a little sooner, we probably would have just incorporated that into the rates, and then wouldn't have needed to, do any financing or anything like that.
Where is this building going?
It's out by the reservoir. I believe where it splits, and you can kind of continue down River Road, or you can split and take County Road 41 out towards 53. It's along the County Road 41, so it's away from kind of the entranceway. It's more, if you've ever been up on top of the reservoir and off to the north, is that jetty that goes out on that catwalk. Right there's the intake, and that's also where the intake from the river and the intake that goes to the.
And how big of a building is this?
I honestly don't know. It's basically just a big pole barn that houses the.
It's $1 million pole.
Nothing's cheap anymore. But then it also has equipment inside it to be able to feed the chemicals, and it's got storage for the chemicals that need to be fed
I just
at that
remember
point.
the other chemical building.
What's that?
I remember the other chemical building. Like motorcycle.
So the building itself is almost done. It's a really nice looking block brick building, nice roof. I think the expense isn't necessarily the building as much as the plumbing.
Yeah.
I move to suspend Rule 4. It has been moved by Mrs. Reese to suspend Rule 4 and seconded by Mr. Otto. Roll call, please.
Elder, yes. Leibold?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Ivy?
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Second.
It has been moved to adopt by Mr. Elder and seconded by Mr. Leibold.
Leibold?
Yes.
Reese? Frazier?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Ivy?
Yes.
Elder? Yes.
Okay, that has passed. Item number 6, Mr. Elder.
First reading of a resolution authorizing the approval and issuance of a warrant for payment of $13,534 to Abdu Home Builders and declaring an emergency.
Make a motion to suspend Rule 4.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Weiss to suspend Rule 4 and seconded by Mr. Leibold. Roll call, please.
Reese?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Ivy?
Yes.
Elder? Yes. Leibold?
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Second.
It has been moved to adopt by Mrs. Reese and seconded by Mr. Leibold. Roll call, please.
Frazier?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Ivy?
Yes.
Elder? Yes. Leibold?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes. Okay, that has passed also. I think we can do the liquor license.
Well, council will give me an update. So you're correct. Typically, this is a liquor license where you just take a vote of no objection. The only thing I would say is this is what used to be called Big Shots on Stone Street. And I know currently the food license is suspended for cleanliness reasons at the establishment. And I think some time ago, somebody actually ran into the building, and I don't know if they fixed those repairs. So the only thing I would ask council is to not take action on it tonight. It's probably worth us gathering a little more information.
Because Lucky Quarters is the name of the new place.
Lucky Quarters is
It's a
the name of the new place.
transfer owner.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, so same spot, but
The same ownership or
no,
just
no,
same
new
spot, new ownership. So it's going from Big Shots to Lucky Luke's.
Who's the owner?
Well, it was Russ Welty, but I don't know. I'm not sure who the new owner is. The food license has been suspended there for a couple months now, and
When you say cleanliness, do you mean like cockroaches?
I mean, the place is really dirty.
Okay.
So I'm on the board of the health department. The food inspector came by and showed us pictures. I would not. I mean, I'll say this on camera. I would not go in there to that place.
Okay.
Is it on our shoulders or is it on the
Owner shoulders. I mean, this is between the owner and the county health department.
And our issue is limited just to transfer only. So if we would object, we would have to object just to the transfer only.
But we don't have to make any
Not today.
decisions on this
6:24
today, so
is
we can
the
just skip over this.
Yep.
We can table it.
Yep. We don't table it, just have another reading.
Just
Just,
not
Or
do
just-
anything.
okay, yeah, just look at it.
okay. So we'll stop and think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and then we've got the other items.
Okay, agenda item number 8. In order to vacate in-lots 3621-3629, 3632-3642, 3958-3973, 3975-3976, 3978-3981, 3984-3987, 3991-3992, part of in-lot 3988, part of outlot 7, part of vacated Schwartz Street, vacate Burger Street, and adjacent vacate alleys in the city of Fremont, state of Ohio.
I will see the map. This is County Road
Mr. Ani,
190.
excuse me, but when you referred to that map, I thought that you were referring to this one, so that was not there. It wouldn't matter if you were saying it or
I knew that.
So just so as a reminder, this is Township Road 190. It was brought into the city when that property for the industrial park got annexed. When underground utilities put in the utilities last fall, they already took the road out. That was once the road, in fact, isn't even there anymore. We're just kind of cleaning up the paperwork because we have already submitted the final plat. Manikin Smith, who did the engineering work, has submitted the final plat to the county. The county's getting ready to review it and approve the final plat, but we need kind of this paper road vacated to get the final approval of the final plat.
Question for you, how do you take out a road without getting it approved already?
It's not really, I wouldn't think about it as a road. I would think about it, you're vacating the public right of way.
Okay.
And it just happens to have, it used to have a road. But that's why it needs to get updated, because the county can't approve the final plat with a public right of way going right through it. So I would think about it more as just kind of a lane that we have public access to because it's our right of way, and we don't want it to be our right of way anymore because we want it to be part of the industrial park. So we normally think about it when we're vacating the road or the street, but it doesn't have to. It literally, we're vacating our rights as a public right of way more than the road.
Okay.
Mr. Gross?
Yeah.
Once again, where is this located at, this Burger and Schwartz Street?
Those are just paper roads or paper markers out there on what is commonly known as Township Road 190.
Okay, so we're back to that.
Yeah, this is all that same.
It's all the same
See,
thing.
I saw Burger, and all I can think of is Burger is behind the old post office.
And I see Fremont Company on here, but that's down off of Front Street. Council finds a petition was signed by the Fremont Company. That's
Where are you?
Yeah.
Section 1.
It does say.
Oh, geez,
Oh my
everybody
gosh,
want
it
to
did.
apologize to me now? for being,
Well, I also wondered if it was, so it says the petition was from September 2023. Is that accurate to this point?
What was the date?
September 2023? Okay.
And that's just what this petition.
I don't know about the parcels, but I know that was always the intention during the design to abandon this piece of this road. Now,
So they've already been
It's already gone.
eliminated.
Correct.
It's, now we're going to the formality. So
I
move
think
to
we need a
suspend
new
Rule 4.
ordinance.
I second.
Okay, it has been moved to suspend Rule 4 by Mrs. Reese and seconded by Mr. Frazier. Roll call, please.
One second, Madam President. No, do you have a question?
I think this is the wrong ordinance. This is not.
You might have had some more.
Well, at the top it does say 2023.
Yeah,
It's
it's
clear
just,
to
hey,
learn.
let's make,
Yeah.
So I think
It should be Fremont Development Corporation.
the property, the development, the Fremont Development Corporation owns the actual land that the HB Young Industrial Park's on. So I think where it says Fremont Company, it's supposed to be the Fremont Development Corporation.
So just make a motion to amend it.
Yeah.
So you rescind, suspend Rule 4.
Oh, okay. So I have to rescind.
No, you have to rescind Rule 4. You can do Rule 4, then we
And then
get
we
the
can
motion
do
to
it.
adopt, then make the
Okay.
motion on that.
Yep.
Okay, and then up here on, it says 2023, it should be 2022.
No, but
no,
I think the petition was actually filed in
No,
2020.
no,
It
he's
was
talking
filed
about,
in
the
September.
top of it says ordinance number
Yeah.
2023
Oh.
indication.
That's a scrivener.
That's right, we don't have it, right, yeah.
may I ask a question, then are all these numbers though to this here on County Road 190, correct? Because like Burger Street and all those were out there originally. Okay.
Right, there was suspension. Where the suspend Rule 4.
Okay, so I move to suspend and who seconded?
Frazier.
Frazier did? Okay, so roll call, please.
Reese.
Yes.
Adi.
Yes.
Elder. Yes. Leibel.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Frazier.
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Wait,
Hold on.
gotta
Oh.
make a motion
I gotta move
to
to adopt
amend
the-
section 1
Right.
To what?
to say the Fremont Development Corporation instead of the Fremont Company.
Correct.
I second it.
And the date on section 2. We have to amend that.
No,
No,
the
that's
date
a
was
scrivener.
fine.
September 12, 2023.
Well, that might be correct.
Was filed.
That was
No,
probably-
the ordinance, we can do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's fine.
Okay. Just,
Adi.
yes.
Elder. Yes. Leibel.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Frazier.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes,
Now move to adopt.
second.
Okay, it has been moved to adopt. First, let me see.
We haven't had a second.
Pardon?
We haven't had a second.
First of all, we already did it. Now we're,
Oh, okay, I thought you moved to adopt.
not
John did.
Oh, okay. sorry.
now we move to adopt Mr. Elder and Mrs. Reese seconded. Okay, and then, roll call, please.
Elder. Yes. Leibel.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Frazier.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
Adi.
Yes.
That has been. Okay, that's all the readings for this evening. Are there any, comments from elected officials, Mr. Allen?
Those of you may not know, my father was really sick, and so when I started missing meetings early on, it was because I was taking care of my mother. And then ultimately, my father passed away, so I've been here since I was a good time. I just wanted to explain my cousin all the time. That's all.
Thank you.
Sorry to hear that.
But yes, I do the same thing. Mr. Brown,
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Mrs. Allen,
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Gross?
Just a couple of quick reminders. June 29th, I put a flyer, is community cleanup, public services. I'm bringing kind of those big 30-yard dumpsters. So it's Saturday, June 29th, 8 to 2. So if you know anybody, you want to clean out your garage, bring that over. That's a service we work out with Republic Services, and it actually helps that people then just don't throw a mattress or a couch on the curb. It helps that curb that a little bit. So if you may have seen it this week, the amphitheater started its own Facebook page. It's going to be sharing events. We've kind of been in scramble mode a little bit, trying to get sponsors and get events. And so we have a tentative schedule, but it's still kind of unfolding as we speak. And so I think we are launching a few weeks at a time, and I think we're going to try to, as really behind the scenes, we're putting things together now, it's starting to materialize, but I think we're starting to announce different events. And so, for example, tonight was open mic night, and so they were, kind of like a little bit of a karaoke night. You come down there, and actually pretty good, when it came down to city council, 6 o'clock, it was pretty good turnout there, honestly. A lot of people there. So, and then the industrial park, AEP has extended their power to their side, so that portion's done. Columbia Gas, we just got some emails, got some things approved. Columbia Gas looks like they're going to be out there in the next 3 weeks doing, laying the gas lines out. And then, we've talked about this briefly, put a nice sign out there in recognition of the H.B. Young Industrial Park, and it looks like maybe the second week of July, that sign is supposed to show up and be put out there. We take calls on it every day, leads, submit for leads on it, and so I think there's a lot of discussion. So, but as I've learned, there's no ink on paper, so I can't, can't tell you nothing that's on solid ground there. But that's it. Thank you.
Can you, okay, we'll take you, or are you not at that stage yet, or is it still, people just putting out feelers?
So in the economic development world, they give projects names. All these projects have code names, and so you're left like project, whatever, and project wooden stick or something. And then, so they give you the parameters of how much land and the square footage of a building and the utilities, and they give you an idea of kind of the plastics manufacturer, steel, something like that, and you just kind of go back and forth. And ideally, when it comes to projects like this, it usually starts with a broader view, and it kind of gets wound down to, their top 2 or 3 sites. So a lot of end users may use a site selector, but their own private company that will pick sites for them based on a number of factors, and they'll plug into Jobs Ohio or RGP or local folks. The one thing we have been pretty protective of is, our general fund runs off income tax dollars, so jobs are highly important. So we're going to be somewhat selective. We're not. I have somebody want to put solar panels all over the place. I said, no, we need income tax dollars. If you're going to put solar panels on top of the building that you're going to build, then maybe, but it really is, motivated to create jobs. So, and well-paying jobs. So I think we're being a little selective, but yet we still want to get a building in. I don't know if, Mr. Kern done our Fremont Development Corp. I don't know if he wants to add anything.
Yeah, probably. So there's really 2 relatively active inquiries that both have some ranking with us. We rank them on percentage of likelihood of completion within 2 years. So, so we've got a couple of projects that we've got ranked above 50% of likely to happen. And we've had some delays that are, I'd say, normal. And we have the one project, Project Galaxy, definitely has a hold on it based on Toledo Edison not being very friendly to work with right now. But that's not to say that the project's not going to go forward. This is a substantial project, and it'll move forward if it wants to. So we need them to show a little bit more intent, and then when they show a little bit more intent, Edison will probably snap to it and come to their senses, would be my guess. But we have a project that's related to a manufacturer that has a plant here and has a plant east of here. Also, that has, it was our first project originally, and today it's back on the board with a relatively high percentage on it. So it was put on hold back when we were first building the park, before there was anything there. And today they're back out for inquiries. And then we have a couple of spec building inquiries as well. So I would just say what Bob's saying is highly accurate. I mean, it's pretty accurate on what's going on. Some of these projects, we have to pay a little attention to how many jobs, and more importantly, when will we get the jobs? Because some of these places that are national groups, they tend to hog up a lot of dirt, and they sometimes take 3 or 4 years before they actually turn a spade. So, you know, if we want to see jobs, say in 25, 6, that might not be the ideal project for us to be protecting. So we're just being thoughtful about it. We've not made any decisions. And Fremont Development Corporation's board will make a recommendation. But ultimately, if we want to do something, we're coming back to this group to get it blessed, so to speak, is kind of the intent of the development corporation. So they're not going anywhere without the city being on board as well.
Yeah.
Mr. Gross, I have a couple things. Are you done?
I am done.
One thing I thought that was worth mentioning on this junk drop-off, and I can mention it, it's one thing I'm able to accept, which was computer, TV, electronics, household and hazardous waste, yard waste, appliances, lead-acid batteries, and tires. Number 2, I was talking to the mayor, and he says, well, have Mr. Gross talk about it. I've had quite a few, not quite a few people, but a number of people that have asked me about Front Street, why this end is being redone when other, streets are closed down.
Yeah, so really it's kind of almost 2 projects morphed into one, because we did Krogan Street, and if you remember, that was the oldest water line, the oldest sewer line, some broken laterals. If you remember, St. Joe had a broken lateral. I think we've done a lot of catch basin work, and so some of that work is not yet done. They're working on it now. However, the asphalt company could come sooner than originally suspected or expected. And so knowing we were doing the Front Street project, we just kind of pivoted because we didn't want to lose out on that window and delay the project any further. I think paving was originally going to start June 10th, and then it got moved up to June 5th, and then we had a plan all lined out, and then they called and said, hey, we could be here May 30th. I think they called on May 28th and said we could start on Thursday, May 30th. And so we didn't want to miss out on that opportunity because it's been a long project, and we just want it over with, honestly. And so let's get them in, let's get them over with. And so the reality then becomes, so to kind of shrink up the whole project, they're starting with, because you have separate contractors doing concrete work, lateral work. And so the other part of the budget was from Front Street, Burchard, down into the park. And so the engineer, because the bid process came in $100,000 under the expected bid, over the last several years we've busted through Front Street with gas lines and redoing buildings and laterals, and there was a lot of patchwork there. The engineer said, hey, the contractor's really willing to give us a favorable deal if we want it, to just kind of, because it would look kind of bad if you had Krogan Street all done and then all of Front Street done except these 2 blocks. The contractor said, hey, if you want these 2 blocks done, I'll give you a heck of a deal. And so the engineer thought it was a good idea to do that because since the equipment's already here, and it was, we just, and the engineer's argument was, like right in the middle of this brand new pavement, you got a couple block section with patches all over it, the equipment's already here, and so I think it was an extra so because the project came in $100,000 under budget, for another 60, you could get those 2 blocks done. And those 2 blocks, where everything else is ground down to a true base, and then they're kind of rebuilds, like Krogan's a rebuild, this 2-block section is grinding off 2 inches and putting 2 inches back on. And so ideally, we did that, and then we rearranged the schedule to try to really get this done sooner and free up at least Front Street. So the plan is, because they do what they call an intermediate, they have a base coat, an intermediate coat, and a top coat. So the rest of Front Street they're putting the intermediate coat down tomorrow, and they think they'll get that done all the way into Roger Young. And then they'll come back on Monday and do the top coat. So by the time Monday evening rolls around, Front Street should be completely done. We were just working with the striper this week as far as striping downtown, and honestly, that was a really interesting conversation because we're trying to figure out ways if we can restripe it a little bit differently, if we can squeeze in a couple extra parking spots. But then Tuesday, between now and Tuesday, all the prep work that they would need to do Croghan Street should be done, and then they're going to spend Tuesday, Wednesday, and then probably Thursday finishing up Croghan Street. So we should be, in 1 week from now, have brand new asphalt all the way from Croghan Street, from the railroad tracks down the front, and then front into Roger Young Park.
Columbia Gas and Omni Fiber done?
They are done. So, you know, it's funny, you know, we all either love or hate social media, but I saw somebody complain about too much construction stuff. And, you know, I get it, it's frustrating, but, you know, and really, the public's been really good to be understanding and patient, some people more so than others, but I really think if we could just hold on for 7 more days, you know, because you can see Columbia Gas fixing up some of their work. You know, the spring was a mess. But I felt like that was a blessing in disguise because there wasn't, kids were still in school, it was cold out, there wasn't a ton of people out, we didn't have summer events, and so here we are, we're kicking off the summer and we have events, and we're now kind of, you know, wrapping up some of these, our big projects for the year. And we always knew going in, you know, God bless the people that do this in big cities, for Pete's sake. I mean, you know, we have a relatively small downtown, but, you know, and so we've tried to work with the businesses and communicate. Poor Randall, the guy who's got a bad hip and he's running up and down the street trying to run into businesses all the time. And call me, and call the mayor, and call the tucker, and work with the contractor. So we got to buy him lunch or something. But I think that's where we're at with the project. We can hold on for 7 more days. We are really at the end, and I know some people are frustrated, but.
Question for you, Bob. When we're talking about striping of downtown, and normally it's going parallel to buildings, have you thought about taking the striping to a diagonal aspect to add more parking? Because parking, it's a struggle downtown.
We have, and the road isn't wide enough.
Okay.
So we even talked about, could we do it on one side of the street, and even one side of the street is not wide enough.
We went through that.
Yeah. So there are a couple areas, like next to the movie theater, and I think that's the only place downtown. And
that's wide enough for it.
But yeah, but there's a couple areas where, you know, maybe we could, you know, rob Peter to pay Paul and squeeze an extra spot here if we just shift things closer to the curb and closer to the you know, entrance into a drive or something that we think we could squeeze a few more spots in. And so we're actually going to look at a meeting tomorrow to kind of talk about that and figure some of that stuff out and see if when we restripe it, we can stripe it to get a few more spots.
Mr. Gross, I think it's so neat that like when State Street, you know, we took it down to the brick. And now I notice there's brick down here on Front Street. Would that be like the original, how old would that be?
Yep, that's the original road.
The original. I figured I'd have to ask Ms. Reeves because I figured she was probably
late
around.
1880s.
My father helped lay that bridge.
Yeah, seriously?
No.
We bought into it though, I second it.
And if you figure out what the city has done, so we redid Garrison, which had really old water and sewer mains and laterals. And we redid that, and Garrison looks beautiful. We're doing Croghan. I think the engineer's office is either talking Burchard or Hayes next. You know, because all those 4 streets have large water and sewer mains that are the oldest in the city.
And they need it.
And well, and if you remember Garrison, I mean, our water sewer mains guys were up there all the time because it was caving in, there were sinkholes, and so.
Growing up on those streets, they need it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of the strategy here. We've got, if we can get, I can't remember what Tucker said, either Burchard or Hayes, I think is the next one in a couple of years that we're going to try to do this to.
A few years.
Yeah, I mean, I probably.
Don't put it back to back, Paul, is what you're saying?
I got it, I forgot the auto was sitting behind it. Shoot! I mean, several years.
We don't have the money to do that.
Do we have any
I mean,
comments
several years.
from the fire chief? How about? Thank you very much. Okay, starting with our committee reports here. If you have a comment, fine. If not, that's okay. Community Partnership Committee, Ms. Weiss.
I have nothing to say.
Mr. Ani, Utilities and Traffic.
Well, I have nothing on that regards, but I don't think I thanked the people that planted our garden on Wayne Street, unless you were there.
No, that's fine.
We got the garden at the end, at the Whittlesey Cemetery finished, which is at the end of Wayne Street, South Wayne Street. And I just want to thank, first of all, Clyde FFA. They have been done a wonderful job for how many years now? About 3, 4? They do, and they bring over about 15 kids to help us out. I think it's really nice of them. And then, of course, Lowe's Universal Farms for their donation of the mulch, Lowe's for flowers, and then I know the Fremont Exchange Club was down there, their members. We probably even had one Kiwanis down there, didn't we? Yep. So, thank you all that helped us out, I appreciate it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Ani. Mr. Elder, Laws, Rules, and Ordinance Committee.
I have nothing tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Lible, you're the Finance and Legal Committee.
Nothing tonight.
And Mr. Frazier, you are the Parks and Recreation Committee.
I just want to say I'm excited about the parking lot improvements at the Fremont Rec Center. Having all the boys that I have and being a part of the community and every activity out at Fremont Recreational Area, I'm excited about it. It's a very important key of our township, so that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Frazier. And I'm chairman of the Citizen Service Committee, and I'd just like to thank the fire chief for being here tonight, explaining about the work that they're going to be getting, and also for their excellent work that they do along with the police department. We have very good service departments here in town with the police department and the fire department, and I don't like that when they start bad-mouthing our police department or fire department. So I just want to affirm that we do have a very good citizen service committee of the Fremont Fire Department and Fremont Police Department. Thank you, that's all I have. Now, anything else? Public comments.
I want to apologize to Mr. Gross. He's heard a lot of this for the past 18 months or so. My name's Tom Poliva. I live at 216 South Arch Street. We bought that house directly across from the new amphitheater in 2018. In the last 3 years or so, we've had to deal with destruction of the Jackson Annex, a homeless shelter going in next door, a 3-apartment unit going on the other side, the Garrison Street project, the Columbia Gas project, and now with the in the last 12 months with the remodel of the CHS building and the amphitheater project, we've had a ruptured gas line where the block had to be evacuated. Our vehicles were run into by contractor vehicles and damaged. We have a constant layer of grime and dust on our outdoor furniture, cars, windowsills. We can't even open our windows or spend any time outside during the week. There's a constant stream of construction garbage blowing into our yard and landscaping. My once level sidewalk is heaved in 3 places because it's been direction drilled under at least 3 times in the last year. There's also on May 10th, while this is in addition to all the Omni-Fiber mess that I'm sure everybody's heard about, on May 10th, my daughter went to leave for work at 5 a.m., buckled my 3-year-old grandson into his car seat, and then noticed that there was a man sleeping in the front seat of her car, waiting for the shelter to open, which doesn't open, or hasn't opened yet. Fremont police were called, and I called 911. They came and picked the guy up right away. I took my dog out an hour later, and he was sleeping on the bench in the amphitheater. There also is a man that's been living in the parking lot over there for at least a month, and you can imagine how he takes care of his bathroom needs after hours. I've been physically threatened on my front porch by somebody I work at from Lathrop, about 4 months ago. I think we were involved in that email chain. And to add insult to injury, we've had 11 utility disruptions in the last year, 3 of which we've received advance notice of. Last Wednesday, I went to leave for a work meeting in Toledo. My water was off. I left a message for Mr. Ward. He called me back on my way back to Toledo and said the contractor working on Krogan had accidentally shut it off and not let anybody know. It was returned to service about 20 minutes later, but when I returned home from Toledo about 10:45 a.m., my basement has never had an ounce of moisture in it. I looked down there and there was 8 inches of water on my basement floor. I called Wetzel Sewer Cleaning. They put 120 feet of snake into my lateral line. The plug was in the city line in the street at Burchard. Mayor Sanchez and Mr. Ward were great as far as getting me in touch with the city's insurance company. The third-party adjuster was a different matter altogether. He immediately told me, without any information, you don't have a claim. File it on your homeowner's insurance. Most homeowners' policies, you're only covered if the line on your property fails. Last Thursday, they dug up the intersection of Burchard, pulled out 13 feet of clogged. I had to replace 13 feet of the sanitary sewer pipe. They said it was clogged with concrete. I have not heard back from the insurance adjuster. I have asked Mr. Ward for a report twice now on what went on, just so I have it for my peace of mind, or if I can get my insurance company to advocate for me. I really want to know when the downtown residents can expect just a little bit of respite from this. Because it's been going on for 3 years. A solid 3 years. I mean, the things that people take for granted, sitting outside, opening your windows, washing your car. At one point, the little section of grass in front of my house had 17 utility marker flags in it. And nobody came and removed them. I just got tired of mowing around them and pulled them myself. But just when is enough enough? I mean, there are residents downtown. There's more than utility companies, internet providers, and, construction companies. I just want to know when there's going to be some respite, and when can we expect our property and our possessions to quit depreciating. Because you can't tell me with a straight face that my home value hasn't went down with a live music venue across the street. And the water damage in my basement, partially finished, estimated at about $4,000. Unless I do the work myself. But I just want to know when we can get some answers on when this is going to be over, and not just projected completion dates or lip service. I mean,
I think that would be a question for our economic development.
I know Mayor Sanchez regrets that he gave me a cell phone number.
Well, I think something to think about as well as small town Fremont. It gets worse before it becomes better.
I would submit to you that I would find you somebody else who's been through this.
Yeah.
We've been in a maelstrom where we're at.
I understand completely. I can tell you from growing up in the city of Fremont at 38 years old, I would never imagine my 16-year-old and my 13-year-old and them saying to me, I'm going downtown. And that's what we have right now. So I think it's a great cause. I think it's a disruption to those that live there. I would hope the city of Fremont would do everything they can to help you out in those situations. But I do think it's a good cause. I know it's a big problem from you, but I think overall the holistic view of things is better.
I'm not going to deny that downtown Fremont is great, it's vibrant, it's shiny, we've got a great new amphitheater, but when is the peripheral, when is it going to end?
When they were digging up my yard last summer, I thought, when is it going to end? And I thought, I'm not going to yell, I'm not going to get excited, I'm a council member, I should know what's going on in the city. I had holes, not holes, there was pits in front of my house, beside them. First the gas company comes in, and then that fiber optic came in, and then across the street was that gas station. Today I'm washing my windows. I could have planted flowers there. That's how much dirt I had, but at least I see an end to it. But that's why I have empathy for you, because I went through it, but it isn't half that you're going through.
Yeah,
And there isn't much that we can do other than this is progress. What can we do?
It's progress.
Talking to the
It
law
honestly is,
director.
and I do feel for you,
Safety
sir.
service and the administration.
The water.
I mean, I understand, I don't want to throw you guys under the bus, but there has to be something
How do you compromise?
where well, $4,000 worth of water
Right.
damage, it
Yeah,
was the construction.
I do understand that, and that's something that he can work out with the
Right,
city,
that-
safety
but
service
what
director.
about
Or
and
the
everybody.
The guy
contractor.
sleeping in the car.
Well, if I remember, Mr. Gleba was not happy about that going in to begin with. And then it kind of leveled out, it wasn't
Yeah,
all
we
that
made some
bad.
compromises, yeah.
And I
A
think,
privacy fence went up, and yeah.
yeah.
I remember that.
But yeah, you know, you have a,
You know, some of those you can take care of with, okay, we'll pay you 4,000, I'm not saying this,
right.
we'll pay this bill for you.
But I'd be upset if it was 11
Yeah.
times of interruption.
Yeah,
for
I
utilities.
absolutely agree.
Yeah.
As far as the noise, I think it's kind of cool that you're right across from where the music is. I
Depends on the noise. I mean, there was a contractor busting up asphalt behind Krogan Colonial Bank at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday.
think they did do that for the streets. and
Yeah, they worked
tried
during
it
the
not.
night. They worked during the night.
You know, at the intersection of Arch and Krogan, they came in Monday morning at 3 a.m. to replace a broken valve. And they did that prior to the bank's opening because the valve was broken, there was no water to the credit union or to Krogan. And so our water sewer maintenance guys came in at 3 a.m., worked from 3 and got the water back on like 7:30, 8 o'clock. And so if you worked at credit union or Krogan, you may not even notice the water was off, but they noticed it.
But you're trying to get good nice sleep.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but it just, it's probably number 12 on his list, and it doesn't help.
And then when he leaves home, he doesn't know what he's gonna come back to.
Well,
I don't know how I'm gonna get home.
Right.
With the roads closed, I mean,
Yeah, you were, that's fine.
yeah.
And I think,
I can see that.
like you said, Seth, I think, you know, it's gonna work out. I think our property values will eventually go up. That's what we're intending, is getting more people downtown to live down there. So,
Yeah, the investments, what is it, 37 million in the last 3 years to downtown of Fremont?
Exactly.
So I think your property value is gonna go up. It's a long-term view and not a short-term. I do feel for you, I really do. Because I enjoy going out, sitting on my patios and everything else. And it's not to throw shame at you whatsoever, I just think it takes a little time.
It took a while before I came down here. I mean, last Wednesday, enough was enough.
I understand,
I get it.
I understand.
and I think I have your number, but
Yeah.
we'll talk about the latest one and try to
Absolutely.
figure that one out. But
And you've always been very open and,
oh, thank you. I just want to offer up some words of encouragement. If you go through the checklist of things we just went through, Columbia Gas, their work's done, the amphitheater's done. So you paid a lot of heck the last couple of years, but I think to your question, when will it end? Boy, I'm thinking it should end pretty soon.
And the auditor just said we don't have money to purchase.
Right. So we won't be doing virtually for a couple of years, and we don't have money. We spent all our money tearing
I heard the water main
it
on Arches next.
The what?
I heard the water main on Arches next.
Oh, I don't know.
It is.
It is. No, but next could be 5 years from now. But,
No, I think it's
no,
next
we
like
appreciate
in
your
2
understanding.
weeks.
We apologize for you going through this. I really think we're at the end of that long, stressful road of the amphitheater and gas lines and Garrison and Front and Krogan and Omni Fiber. And so I think if we get this latest one fixed, and we'll try to be going for a while.
We do feel for you, though.
And a world of construction buses, Omni Fiber.
You know, like a van, how late?
Understand, we do feel for you, though, sir.
I'm not sure the noise ordinance is, I'm not sure.
We're working on the rules, so.
Yeah, we are working on the rules for the amphitheater. We got a draft out, we got stuff going around. That's another thing, I've done some research on some rules for other amphitheaters and are kind of match them up. And similar to the rules that we did for the reservoir, probably just a subsection, you know, of the things used to the amphitheater. But
It's probably like Friday and Saturday that you're gonna have more noise. If you have.
Well,
any
it only
on
lasts till
Sunday.
11 p.m., so
Well,
it's not,
that's, they
I thought
don't,
you
they're
said
not sure.
that. Yeah, that's not an issue.
yeah.
And I know, speaking of police chief, we've stepped up patrols. We have cameras at the amphitheater to try to chase some of that left some lights on to try to chase some of that away, and so I know Chief Monsignor kind of instructed his.
The lights aren't in your bedroom window, are they?
No,
That's right.
Don't add to it, don't add to it.
Number 13, John.
In my career, I work from home quite a bit. I have an office in Columbus, but I'm never there. And when your internet or your electricity drops out, you're on a Zoom call.
Not good.
No.
You don't have to leave a light on at night, do you?
No, we have security cameras.
You have one?
We have security cameras.
I just thought maybe the street light. I mean, that's the way I get myself calmed down, because the street light, at least I don't have to leave the porch light on.
Madam President Pro Tem, I do want to give a huge recognition to Downtown Fremont Inc. and Christy Bilger on the events that are happening at the amphitheater. I think we are booked out to the second week of October. She's working very diligently on
I hope
getting
we'll
that.
see her at our next meeting, so she can.
Hopefully so. She's really behind. She's went through some personnel changes, and we'll probably see her soon. We had our marketing meeting today.
Yeah, we had our monthly
Merchant
meeting.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we had our monthly merchant meeting this morning.
Yeah, so she has some new personnel, but huge recognition to her. She's doing a great job. We're going to see that update on Facebook page. So hopefully everybody on City Council will share and like that as well.
Would she have a calendar like this?
Yes, it's at the printers. That's due. I do have a short report for you if you want.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll just stand up and talk from here. I can talk from here. So downtown Fremont, there's a few things that I just want everybody to know what's going on and how things are being repositioned, because with the new amphitheater, there's new work and there's additional responsibility that has to get accomplished. So today, everything moved out of the downtown Fremont office so that we could add a second office in that building. There's an administrative assistant that's been hired that will be at the window and be able to work from there. Christie's office will move back in the building, and the building will have some light remodeling go on inside of it, just to make it so that the people that have to work there all have a place to sit and so on. Pretty much, it's almost a complete crew changeover from a year ago. We had some runoff on people last year through the fall, and we didn't rehire until recently, but there's new people for the farmers markets, and there's new people to help with the amphitheater and all of that. So Christie's responsibility moves up to taking the lead on learning how to attract all this entertainment and so on. And we didn't have, I mean, in all honesty, we never had all that knowledge of how to accomplish all that entertainment and all that stuff. So it's a pretty steep learning curve to learn all that. So it's taken us about 6 weeks, basically, to get that sort of figured out, find the guys, the commissioned agents and stuff that are representing some of these people. One of the things that sometimes people don't understand is we want to be very, very respectful of all the businesses in downtown. So what happens when you want to do that, you have to give them some priority. So you don't want to have the same band that the restaurant down the street had last week, or the restaurant over on Stone Street, or wherever it's at. You know, you want to bring some new blood, something different, something more to talk about, and things like that. So that's how we laid out the scope for that work, was to make it take a little longer, make it a little harder, because we had to meet people that I didn't know, Christy don't know, Bob don't know, nobody knows. You know, none of us know, so we had to learn all of that. I'm sure there'll be more bumps along the way. This is a first-year thing, but as Seth was saying, the schedule is all but full. There's 2 weekends between, 2 Saturdays between now and the end of October that are not booked. So that's a pretty strong showing for the amphitheater. So I think that will be just fine. I think everybody's anxious for the information. Can't give you what I don't know. You know, and so that's what we're struggling with. But all these changes are coming. And I just want to tell you guys, the merchants downtown are pretty gracious, and they've been through a lot of hell on this stuff too, and they're pretty fed up. And if you want to know one individual that's pretty fed up, it's me. And it's because this stuff just kills the restaurant business. I mean, you think I can make all this stuff magically work and fill up these restaurants? You guys are nuts. It's not possible when they can't even get into the downtown to attract them even to the Garrison. I mean, you can just track our sales, and when all this nonsense is going on, you can just see our sales every week and where they're going. So I have empathy for all of the merchants, but I think people kept their mouth shut pretty good and have just put up with it, and I have empathy for him as well. And this is going to continue to go on, because anytime a downtown gets busier, there's going to be things that we don't have figured out. And there's going to be things that break, even though you got all new things. Things are still going to break. Water lines still break in the wintertime. They can be one that we put in 2 years ago, but you know, pipes still break in the middle of the winter. It happens. So you just have to, we just all have to get used to a new set of circumstances, and maybe a little bit the new world we live in. So let's just all try to be nice to each other. I try not to get too mad at everybody, but I think every merchant on the list and every homeowner could show you a list of expenses that they incurred to get through this little patch. So just thank them and move on, I think, is our best bet, because we can't afford to buy it all out. You know, you can't pay for it all. So.
No, and kudos to Mr. Kern too, because I think he's giving some food to the gas company,
yeah,
and everybody else
we're
to
just
finish
doing
this.
what we can do to make them do what they
Yeah,
can do.
encouraging those, encouraging
Yeah.
those. So thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah, I just wanted to come and say thanks to Mr. Gross and Mayor Sanchez for helping me with the rezoning of the Krogan Street property, and also council for suspending Rule 4 and getting that all done so it was rezoned. It was about 82 days from the time I started to actually getting this bust, and I had 4 different prospective tenants that I lost along the way for those delays, because they all inquired about the proper zoning. Once council suspended Rule 4, I had a new tenant within 7 days.
Awesome.
So
Great for
I'm just
you.
here to say thanks.
Good, congratulations.
Thank you.
Madam President Pro Tem, real quick, I don't know if you were around Tuesday night, the amphitheater was used because the mayor declared Tuesday to be Dominic Brown Day. He won the state shot put final at the state track meet last Saturday, and it's the first shot put champion since 1940. The Fremont great Bob Shaw was the last one.
That's the first one since 40?
It was 1940. So we don't
Kudos
want to
to
wait.
the Kaiser
81
family.
years.
Kaiser
Right.
family.
Yeah, he's part of the Kaiser family, so the amphitheater is a great venue to hold that event, so
That's a nice story.
it was good. Yep.
Okay, it's been motioned by Mrs. Weiss to adjourn the meeting and seconded by Mr. Flybo. Roll call,
Flybo.
please.
Yes. Reese.
Yes.
Frazier.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
Adi.
Yes.
Elder. Yep. Yes.